All right, build a school part 3. So you've already kind of done the basics of what your school's called, your mission statement in part 1. Part 2, you thought about the schedule and what classes your school would offer. And then part 3, we're extending it even further into the specific curriculum or the specific lesson you would want your students to learn in one of those classes that you put on your list for part 2. The first thing I'm going to say before I explain these instructions are if you have not done Build a School Part 1 or Build a School Part 2, you have got to do them in order. But I'll just read these directions here. So based on what you've already thought about in the curriculum in Build a School Part 2, this assignment will have you break down a specific class and design a lesson plan. Basically, you will follow the steps below to put yourself in the shoes of a teacher at your school designing and teaching a lesson. So in this part 3 assignment, basically you're going to pretend you're a teacher. You are deciding in one of those classes that you want your school to offer what's a specific lesson you'd want your students to learn in that class and how would you teach that lesson. So step 1 is the basics. So look back at Build a School Part 2. There was a chart where you had to list in each department what classes your school would offer and pick one of those specific classes. It can be anything. Just choose a class that interests you and one that you think would be fun to design a little lesson for. So which class would it be fun to design either a day lesson or a couple day lesson? So first of all, which class did you choose and why did you choose that class? You can choose any class that you put on part 2. Number 2, how long are your class periods for? Is it a block schedule? Is it a 55-minute class? Our class is 40 minutes long. And then number 3, how many students are in the class you chose? So what's your class size? Are there 15 students in this math class? Are there 25 students? Like how many humans will be in the room? Step 2 is the lesson basics. So let's say that you pick a speech class for this assignment. A speech class is something that you want your students to have access to in your school. You need to think about a specific lesson within that speech class, a specific unit, a specific project that you would have your students do. So number 1, what is the lesson or skill you would like students to know in the class you selected? So again, if you chose that speech class, maybe you want everyone to give an introduction speech to start the year. Just some sort of skill you would want students to work on. Number 2, how many days will it take to teach this lesson? So is this going to be like a one-day thing where students come in and they learn a quick skill just in one class period, or is this something that's going to take a week? For this assignment, the lesson you're going to be kind of designing here either needs to be 1 day long, 2, 3, 4, or 5 is the max. So we're not designing huge unit plans here, just a quick little, it can be just a day unit, kind of like when we do those social emotional skills, it takes a day, or it can be something that takes more like a week. Number 3, why is it important that your students learn how to do or master this skill? Why is it important that your students learn how to do the thing you're teaching them to do in this lesson? And then number 4, how will you know if your students learn the skill? How are you going to kind of test them? Is it going to be a test or quiz at the end? Are they going to do a project? Are they going to give a speech? Is it going to be a Socratic, a class discussion? Is it just participation points? Like how are you going to assess if the students in your class learned the skill that you wanted them to learn? And then finally, tell me what the lesson is. So describe in detail how you will teach your lesson below. Questions to consider when creating and describing your lesson. So take a look at these bullet points, but basically below here, tell me what you would do. The first 5 minutes of class would be a free write. After that, then I'm going to give a short lecture on blank. Kind of tell me how you would do that. Would it be a PowerPoint? How would you do that? Maybe are you going to have a class discussion? Is there going to be an activity? Is there a lab that you're going to use? Are you trying to teach? Is your lesson about teaching students like the respiratory system or the skeletal system? Are they going to do some sort of lab? Are they going to watch a video? Are students going to turn in anything? Are they completing a packet or doing a worksheet? Are they doing a flip grid or a Kahoot? Like what are students going to turn in? What's going to be graded? Do they have a test? Are they taking a little mini quiz at the end of the day? Or is this a week-long project where at the end they turn in an essay? Do they turn in a speech at the end, present a speech? Are they doing a discussion? Take this wherever you want. Use as many details as possible. Basically, you are the teacher in the classroom and you need to explain to me how you wish a class would be taught. Like how would you like to be taught a specific lesson? So again, you're choosing a class and then choosing like a unit or a lesson that would fall in that class. So pretend that when I grade this, am a substitute teacher. I just walked into school, you were sick that day, and I'm reading your lesson. So right here, I'm reading your lesson, and I should be able to basically teach this lesson for you if you were gone that day. So please use details. Have fun with this. You don't need to like make specific worksheets. You can if you want to. You don't need to make specific PowerPoints. Again, you can if you want to. But just kind of tell me what you would do. Would there be lectures, discussions, videos? How long would they take? Would you have a 25-minute Socratic? If it's multiple days, tell me what you would do each day. But this is going to kind of give you the chance to show me kind of a sneak peek into what does a specific classroom look like in your school. So if I was observing your classes in your school, what would I see? Please let me know if you have any questions, but this is part 3 of Build a School.